Welcome and hello to the mean streets of Gadgetzan. On Friday, Blizzard finally lifted the curtain for the next Hearthstone expansion called Mean Street of Gadgetzan that is coming in early December and revealed around 30 cards at the announcement event. I will take a look at 15 cards today while the rest of the pack is following tomorrow, so check back on my channel for that as well. Future card review episodes will always occur when enough new cards are shown. To stay up to date, leave a subscription and never miss a future episode. New in the Mean Streets of Gadgetzan are the multi-class cards. 3 classes are combined to crime families, sharing a card pool and discover effects. Hunter, Paladin and Warrior are in for the Grimy Goons, Mage, Priest and Warlock are joining the Kabals, and last but not least, the Jade Lotus family includes Druid, Rogue and Shaman. No other new keywords or mechanics are so far announced, but with nearly 100 more cards to be revealed, there is still a possibility for some new hidden stuff that Blizzard will show later. The first card I'd like to talk today is also the most interesting from the reveal event. Kazakus is a new multi-class card for the Kabal family that gives you a 3/3 in stats for 4 mana and probably the most interesting new effect seen on a minion since Reno Jackson. Funny enough, he will also be a strong partner for Reno. If your deck contains no duplicates, you are creating a custom spell, and custom is really true in this case. When playing Kazakus, you are presented by a vast number of possibilities to choose for your spell, including mana costs and different effects. Blizzard stated that you can create over 100 different spells in total, so there should be a huge skill gap between excellent and bad picks for every situation. Getting presented with so many choices will favor good over bad players and shows that the developers are still able to create some interesting effects instead of the same stuff over and over again. I would really like to see more creative cards like Kazakus in the future. As mentioned earlier, the card is of course a perfect fit for Reno Jackson decks. Unfortunately, Reno will rotate out of standard in early next year, so there's not much time for those two to shine together, at least not in standard. The minion might also be able to finally give Warlock a reason to play Shogal. Getting an insane 10 mana spell for 0 mana could be potentially a game changer, especially if there is a healing effect to be found on the spell as well. This would offset the 10 life to pay with Shogal and could mean a nearly free ride spell with huge impact on the board. The legendary for the other 2 families isn't revealed so far, but there is a chance that the other 2 families are getting a custom weapon and a custom minion, which would make for some interesting play choices as well. I am really looking forward to that announcement. For Kazakus, we are definitely looking at a meta-defining card, and you can expect to see a lot of Reno decks after the release of the next set. Especially Mage and Warlock should be all over the ladder. Next up is Kun the Forgotten King, the new Druid legendary. When you thought a 7/7 for 4 mana is good, then what about a 7/7 for 0 mana? Okay, I'm just kidding a bit. You can't of course play him on the first turn for 0 mana, but he can still be a free card later in the game. For 10 mana you are getting a 7/7 creature with a choose 1 effect that will either give you 10 armor or refreshing your mana crystals, which of course means that you haven't paid for the card at all. While the 10 extra armor are only a small bonus and will be chosen fewer, the second effect is a real game changer. It is very likely that the card will be played in every slower non-aggro Druid deck, allowing you to drop for a big swing turn for little mana investment. Alongside with double Arcane Giant, you could potentially play 3 huge threats onto the board but still having 10 mana at hand to play more cards. With the ramp possibilities of Druid and some forgotten cards like Aviana, you are up for some crazy combos. It will be interesting to see if Aviana will finally see a bit more play with Kun. Having those 2 in the hand and then a bit of card draw in form of a Nourish or an Azure Drake, oh boy, the salt could be real. Regarding the 10 armor, I would expect to see those getting into effect with Fendrel, or of course when you don't have anything else to play. It gives you a bit more survivability and could be used for example after a Stralco minion hits the board on 4 and you get Kun the next turn. Definitely a very solid card, and I would give it a 4 out of 5 if I would need to give it a rating. We will now look at the rest of the revealed Druid cards so far before going on to the Priest ones. So next we have Mark of the Lotus, a 1 mana spell that gives every of your creatures +1/+1. That means the card is a Power of the Wild for 1 mana less and missing the choose 1 effect that could give you another creature on the board. There's really not much to say here because of course the effect is already in play. Alongside the Power of the Wild, this could be a buff for token and aggro spawn decks, but it has to be seen if the impact of the card is strong enough to play that over other Druid cards, even in a token deck. When I think about to play against such a Druid deck and then also the chance that he's getting an even higher chance to find one of those spells out of a Raven Idol, I'm not liking it as an opponent. The card will see play for sure, even if it's just out of the Raven Idol, but depending on the rest of the new Druid cards that haven't been announced so far, it could be a real game changer to give Druid so many buff options. So potentially a strong card. The following Druid epic card is an indirect ramp card. Instead of giving you more mana crystals, you can draw 2 cards and every creature out of those 2 cards is reduced by 2. 5 mana is a bit too high for my taste to make the card a real meta changer, and in many Druid decks, Nourish will still be the better drawing option for the same amount of mana investment. In heavy minion based decks like Ramp Druid, this could produce more value, but still even here you are playing more than 10 spells, so the chances to get 2 minions out of the cards are rather slim. Missing 1 card draw in comparison to Nourish and also the possibility to ramp up, which is used frequently, it might not be worth it to play this over Nourish. In another class I could see more play for the card, but Druid just has a better option already available. A solid 3 out of 5, but nothing spectacular. Another direct ramp option on the other hand is a Pilfered Power card, the second Druid epic revealed. For every friendly minion on the board you are getting an empty mana crystal while the card itself costs 3 mana. With the hinted token Druid deck earlier, this is a potential huge swing card. An aggressive start with Living Roots and 1 or 2 minions on turn 2, and you're looking at 3 to 4 extra mana crystals on turn 3, pushing you then to 7 or 8 mana on turn 4. Let's assume now you are able to draw more cards on that turn with stuff like Nourish, and you're looking at a pretty devastating start for any aggro token deck. Your opponent might not be able to come back from such a start, so expect some insane wins for the Druid with this card. In the slower non-token decks, Wild Growth should still be the better option by a wider margin, but the other side of the Druid is happy embracing the card while kicking some asses. It's at least at 4 out of 5, but depending on the rest of the Druid cards, it could be even going up to 5 out of 5 easily. Watch out for the Pilfered Power or going down into the abyss. The last card that is associated with Druid is another multi-class card, this time for the Lotus family. The Lotus Agent is a 5 mana card for 5 attack, 3 life and a discover effect that allows you to search for Druid, Rogue or Shaman card. For the amount of mana, the stats are average, but it might be better to have a 4-4 instead of a 5-3 on the board. The discover effect is solid and will allow for some crazy combos, so even if it is not a groundbreaking card, it will see enough play to warrant its existence. A card like the Ethereal Peddler was played on the mage side for a long time, although the stats are worse for him in comparison for the Lotus Agent, so I'm sure the card will find its place. Depending on your deck, it might still be more wisely to play the Aether Drake for 5 mana. On the other hand, getting stuff out of another class might give you the tools that your class of choice is not capable of using otherwise. A solid 3 out of 5 right now might get half a point better in the right deck. So far for the revealed Druid cards. Next up are the Priest cards, and it really looks like Blizzard is trying to give the class some fine tools this expansion. Starting with the Dragonfire Potion, Priest is getting another fine AoE spell that is costing 6 and deals 5 damage to all minions except dragons. As expected, this card is of course the star of a new Dragon Priest deck, but with only 1 pint of mana more, while dealing an additional 2 damage in comparison to Excavated Evil, the card might also find its place in non-Dragon Priests. Funny enough, Priest is therefore still not able to clear Aether Drake probably. That really is a big disadvantage for the card. Other than that, I'm a fan of it, especially when you consider that I really like all kinds of dragon decks in Hearthstone. If the latter is getting swamped by Dragon Priests in December, it will be interesting to see how the player base handles the card in mirror matches, where it will be most of the time really useless. We might see the inclusion of Elite Starseeker then to get rid of the card in the late game. But let's not jump to early conclusions and wait for the meta to settle with the expansion. Definitely at least a 4 out of 5. If you're playing a dragon deck against a non-dragon deck, it is easily a 5 out of 5. Another strong new priest card is the Drakonid Operative. As well as the Dragonfire Potion, this card is going straight in the Dragon Priest deck. Costing 5 mana with the great stats of 5 attack and 6 life, you can discover a card in your opponent's deck if you're holding a dragon. While there's always a chance to get 3 shitty cards presented, you can expect to get a good enough value out of the draw to warrant the Operative to be played. Definitely a huge advantage is also the inside of your opponent's deck. Knowing what your opponent is playing, which strategy he's using and what tash options you can expect gives you a strong advantage for the rest of the game. Assuming you are playing against a warrior and getting presented 2 brawls, you know for sure that he has no brawl right now in hand and you can push for more damage on the board. That is only a small example, but shows the power of the card. The 5 mana slot is normally filled with other drakes and Dragon Priest, but the Dragonid will make for a strong contender in this slot and you can expect to see both being played. Dragon Priest is surely getting to at least tier 2 or tier 1. Not getting enough of great priest cards? Well, here's another one, the Kabal Talonpriest. Everyone was missing the Dark Cultist, right? So Blizzard is presenting us nearly the same card, but instead of a death rattle effect, this time we're getting a Battlecry effect. The stats are the same, the minion is still hosting 3 attack and 4 life for 3 mana, pretty good amount of stats for the cost of 3. While some players like the death rattle effect more, a Battlecry is always the effect that gives you as a player more control over the outcome. You're not getting a random effect that can hit any of your minions, or of course none at all if everyone is dead, but instead you are choosing your target. The upside for death rattle effect is that you can play the minion on an empty board and hope for the card to survive another turn. Other than that, a Battlecry is normally better and can also be double triggered by Bronzebeard. With such solid stats as the Talonpriest is presenting, you can even drop him on turn 3 without finding a target. Nothing to be too happy about, but still the decent body will work for you. Maybe Blizzard is also revealing a good class 2 drop for the priest and then the class will be back again. Kabal Talonpriest, a great 4 out of 5 points. Next card we have is a Potion of Madness, a super cheap priest spell for only 1 mana that is definitely giving the class a nice buff in the arena, but will find its way in Constructed as well. With that card you can gain control of an enemy minion with 2 or less attack until the end of turn. Now we knew of a similar effect already with Shadow Madness, but that cost is costing 4 mana and you are getting a 3 attack minion. For only 1 mana this card is looking a bit too cheap, and even though you are normally not finding too many low attack minions, there are enough to get stolen. Plus with cards like the Shrinkmeister and Wild, or the new Pint-Size Potion that we'll discuss after this card, you have the tools to get even higher attack minions to your side. The potion is then able to allow you for some great 2 for 1 plays, killing both a minion on your opponent's side and the minion you just got, using effects of specific minions like Leoric for 1 turn, or just try out some funny stuff with cards like the useful Brewmaster that can push the minion into your hand. For the small amount of mana required, this card is really insane, which also shows that Shadow Madness should cost 3 instead of 4 mana. A great 4 out of 5 for the Potion of Madness. Now let's have a look at the already mentioned Pint-Size Potion. Again we're seeing a very cheap priest spell that is squeezing all enemy minions attacked by -3 for 1 turn. With the Potion of Madness, the Shadow Madness or the Kabal Shadow Priest, the priest's sealing possibilities are nearly endless, but not only that, but the spell also allows you to clear your opponent's board while keeping your minions alive thanks to the small amount of damage output on your opponent's side of the battlefield. If you thought that Shrinkmeister was great in the past with Kabal, you might think again. Steel Priest might be in to become a real threat with the next expansion, and you can feel the hatred of 10,000 when you are getting ripped of Ysera, an Emperor or other great stuff, just like in the good old days. The card will also be huge in the arena, where it can provide a nice cheap board clearing, and as a rare it is still found quite often. Just stream a bit of a Pint-Size Potion and a few Potion Madness or Kabals and boom! In the right deck this is a 5 out of 5 and a 4 out of 5 in general. For the last card of today we will have a look at the Kabal Courier, another new multi-class card, and this is a second revealed one for the Kabal family. The effect is the same as the Lotus Agents, but of course, instead of discovering a Druid, Rogue or Shaman card, you are discovering a Mage, Priest or Warlock card here. I like the Kabal a bit more than the Lotus Agents, just because you can play the card on turn 3 already, so you might find some useful stuff early in the game. The body is also below average with 2-2, but the discover effect can make up for it, and you should find enough value here to find a place in specific decks that are in need for some extra cards. Reno Jackson Kazakus decks will pretty much love to get the extra value, so if anything else falls apart, at least there is a place for the Kabal Courier. Oh, and of course, don't forget about the nice troll possibilities to find Prophet Valen in a mage deck. Your opponent will not be happy. For me, the card is a 3.5 out of 5. And that's it for today. I will be back with more card reviews tomorrow and when more cards are revealed, so check back regularly to explore more. Thank you for watching guys and have a nice day. Bye bye.